Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is the Surge Effect, and this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Surge Effect. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about Mark Carney threw his name in the ring to become the next prime minister of this great nation of ours. Before we get started, I like to always pop up two of our sponsors. Number one is Love My Legs, Owen Sound, Grey Bruce. Click on the link below, head on over to their Facebook page, check out all the different ladies' leggings they have to offer. Number two is Heshirtssheshirts. Head on over to their webpage and Facebook page and see all the things that they have to offer. It's Heshirtssheshirts Plus. Plus now because of they do laser engraving. All right, I also like to throw in two more things. One is my RODECaster mic, podcast mic. Check it on Amazon. Click on the link below, as well as what goes with it is my RODECaster Pro 2, my soundboard. They go hand in hand. Click on the link below. Go and get yours today if you're into podcasting, blogging, vlogging, all that fun stuff. They're fantastic pieces of equipment. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be talking about Mark Carney, so let's go to what he said the other day when he threw his hat in the ring, so to speak. So let's get started. All right, so here's Mark Carney right here. If you don't know about him or know what he's about, I'm going to let this play in its entirety, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. And you'll be able to listen to what he has to say.
Here to ask for your support. I'm here to earn your trust, to lead that fight. I'm back home in Edmonton to declare my candidacy for leader of the Liberal Party and Prime Minister of Canada. I know I'm not the usual suspect when it comes to politics, but this is no time for politics as usual. No, it's not the time for lifelong politicians such as Pierre Poilievre. Politicians with bad ideas, naive and dangerous ideas. And I think his worst, is that Canada is broken. Conservatives don't run around saying Canada is broken because they want to fix it. They want a license to demolish and destroy, including many of the things on which we all and regular people depend, because populists don't understand how the economy and our society actually works. Just as Pierre Poilievre's soundbites won't deliver for Canadians. We can't achieve our full potential with the ideas of the far left. They too often see government as the solution to every problem, with a reflex to spend and subsidize that just treats the symptoms of the problems, but doesn't cure the disease. We can't redistribute what we don't have, and we can't support the vulnerable in our society or defend this great country if we have a weak economy. So if you remember one thing from what I say today, remember this. I am going to be completely focused on getting our economy back on track. If you choose me as your leader, we will offer Canadians a clear choice in the next election. Experience versus incompetence. Plan versus slogan. Calm versus chaos. We have to give Canadians that choice because, let's face it, even if Donald Trump and the threat he brings didn't exist, we'd still have big problems. Our growth has been too slow. People's wages are too low. Necessities like groceries and rent are too expensive for too many. The federal government spends too much, but it invests too little. Middle-class taxes are too high. And we're not yet ready to make the AI revolution and the energy transition work for all Canadians. So in the coming days and weeks, I'll propose some big changes and some bold new ideas. And I recognize that's not how politics is done these days, when lifelong politicians rely on slogans and slander and sound bites. But once again, these are not ordinary times. The fight back starts now. We are going to win the general election. But that's not the point. The point is what we do when we win the general election. And that's to get out there and work for our fellow Canadians every day. It's to get out there and build a strong economy that works for everyone. It's coming together to stand up for Canada against Donald Trump. It's coming together to build an even better Canada. We can build bridges between each other. We can build the strongest economy in the G7. Canada is a proud nation of builders. And now, in these extraordinary times, it's time to build together. Thank you for your support. Let's go do it.
All right, so it took everything I could not to bite my tongue while he was speaking, because I wanted to jump in there several times when he was talking. If anyone's been paying attention about Mark Carney at all over the last several years, I'm going to show you some stuff on Mark Carney. And hey, don't get me wrong, if Mark Carney is your man, then if you want part of the World Economic Forum and what they believe in regards to what plan they have for you, then hey, then Mark Carney's your guy, because he is on the board of the World Economic Forum. And if Mark Carney is saying that he's not an insider, well, that he's an outsider, he's an actual insider. And he has been by Trudeau's side for years and years and years. So for the last 10 years, what we've experienced in this country of ours, with the inflation through the roof, this carbon tax nonsense, then he's your guy. Then that's the guy to vote for. But I'm going to show you some clips in regards to Mark Carney, and it might open up your eyes a little bit. But so here's one of Pierre Poilievre the other day talking at a press conference. This is just a little short clip, about 3 minutes, and then we're going to show some other clips with Mark Carney as well. So here we go. Show this.
I think that the first thing that President Trump should do when he gets into the Oval Office is to send a big bouquet of flowers to the Liberal government in Ottawa. By blocking pipelines and LNG plants in Canada, the Liberals have forced Canadians to sell almost all of our energy to the United States, giving President Trump massive leverage in making these tariff threats. Had they allowed the Energy East and Northern Gateway pipelines to go ahead, had they rapidly approved LNG plants to sell the natural gas that Japan, Greece, Germany, and other countries were looking for us to sell them directly, we wouldn't have to give 100%, almost 100%, of our hydrocarbons to the Americans at discount prices, and you wouldn't have had to ask me that question. Because I would have answered, in that scenario, I would have answered, we'll go around the Americans. We'll sell our energy directly. But that's something that the Liberals would not let us do. Freeland supported killing the Energy East pipeline, which would have moved 1 million barrels of Western oil to the St. John refinery and off to Europe, by the way, which would have helped defund Putin. Carney testified in the industry committee that he was against the Northern Gateway pipeline to take Canadian oil to Asia without going through the United States. By the way, while his company buys pipelines in the Middle East and in Brazil. How unpatriotic is that? So frankly, the Liberals have got us in this mess by making us beholden to the Americans and giving them, the Americans, our energy at massive price discounts, selling our oil for $15 typically below the market rate, and selling them natural gas for $4 per million metric British thermal units when they're going for $13 in Europe. That is economic sadomasochism, and I will put an end to it. When I'm Prime Minister, we will repeal the anti-energy law C-69. We will rapidly approve LNG plants and any other private sector unsubsidized investments to expand our ability to sell our energy without going through the Americans. And I will unite our people. We see right now that not only have the Liberals weakened our economy, now they're resorting to dividing our people. Divide and conquer. Right when the president is threatening us with tariffs, what is the first thing the Liberal Party of Freeland and Carney think to do? Divide Canadians. Divide our provinces. We don't need to be divided. We need to be united. All provinces, all Canadians. Let's put Canada first.
Well, there's a fine idea. Putting Canada first, not last, first. Yippee. So he was just talking about the Northern Gateway pipeline. Now, this is actually Pierre Poilievre talking with Mark Carney, asking him questions in regards to this. And this was about 4 years ago. This was before Pierre Poilievre even became the opposition leader. So listen to this questioning.
Do you support the Prime Minister's decision to veto the Northern Gateway pipeline, Mr. Carney?
I understand the veto of the Northern Gateway pipeline.
You support it?
Given both environmental and commercial reasons.
Do you support it?
I think it was sensible. I wasn't involved in the decision, but I think it was the right decision.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. You bought billions of dollars of pipelines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
Mr. Poilievre, there is a global energy system, and one of the issues, I'm trying to explain a bit of how the economy works. One of the
Thank you so much.
It may help. One of the issues for this committee in thinking about a sustainable transition.
Do you support it?
Where is Canada's role in those as energy transitions from fossil fuels to renewables? And in different jurisdictions, into different geography, it matters. It matters, and this is a fundamental point.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. This is a fundamental. You're finally getting to a point.
You've exceeded
that
the
is
time.
relevant to this committee's inquiry.
What you're saying is you oppose pipelines in Canada, but you support them in the UAE and in Brazil. That's what you've actually said.
There are specific.
That's your double standard.
It is not a double standard.
It is a double standard.
No, it's not.
You make billions of dollars off foreign pipelines, and you shut them down here at home, putting our people out of work.
That you are.
So this is the guy that it just threw his hat in the ring to run as Prime Minister of this country, and he literally shut down a pipeline and took away thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of jobs, and then built the pipeline in Brazil and the EU. So this is the guy you want. Oh, okay. All right. It's just something to think about. So here's another couple of clips about what he is all about, this Mark Carney. And you may or may not have seen this or even heard about it, but I've been following this guy for a little while myself personally. And I just because I know he's good friends with Justin Trudeau, and he's been helping Justin Trudeau. So our economy and our country is in the shape it's in because of this guy as well. So here we go.
Carney is back from Europe.
Speaking as a European.
To continue what Justin Trudeau started.
He just said speaking as a European, not a Canadian. You didn't hear that? Let's play that again. Here we go.
Carney is back from Europe.
Speaking as a European.
To continue what Justin Trudeau started.
A steady increase in the price of carbon. Carbon prices have been applied sparingly. They've been set far too low.
He even called Trudeau's carbon tax a model for others. So no matter what he calls it,
effectively a shadow carbon price, or price on pollution,
you're going to keep paying.
In some form of carbon tax.
Carbon tax Carney. He's just like Justin.
You sneaky.
See, he's going to keep hammering carbon tax. So if you want to keep digging in your pocket and paying carbon tax, then he's your guy for sure. So here's another clip. Same thing of Mr. Carney. Here we go.
I have been talking with Mark Carney for years now.
Mark is a friend of a personal friend of very long standing. He's someone who I talk to often. It's really great for our team to have Mark providing advice to the Liberal Party so that we can support Canada and Canadians.
You're running as an outsider.
I am an outsider.
He's an insider.
I support the government. I think the government's on the right track. I support the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is going to be the leader of the Liberal Party in the next election, and I support him.
Just like Justin. Just like him. So you're going to get the same old, right? So just here's some more about Mark Carney, and this is from Michael Barrett, one of the MPs in the House.
Justin Trudeau quit. Now, carbon tax Carney wants to replace him. These two might seem different, but don't be fooled. Carbon tax Carney is just like Justin. Let's take a look.
Yes, it does require putting a price on things right now.
Justin Trudeau increased the carbon tax 6 times, and it's going up another 19% in 2 months. The carbon tax makes gas, groceries, and home heating more expensive. It means an extra 17 cents a liter on gas and $700 more this year on a family's grocery bill. It's not worth the cost.
That's wrong. It's not the Canada that we all grew up in. This never used to be like this.
And well, they don't call him Carbon Tax Carney for nothing. In his own book, he said one of the most important initiatives is carbon pricing. The best approach is revenue-neutral carbon tax. And just to clear up any confusion, here he is endorsing Trudeau's carbon tax.
I will be very clear that I think the moves that have been made on the carbon price and providing the prospect of having it legislated to 2030, that is one of the most powerful incentives globally.
Just like Justin, carbon tax Carney means higher carbon taxes and higher costs for you. Look, we all know Trudeau lives a high-flying life of luxury, and Canadians pay for it. Remember these outrageous expenses Trudeau billed you for? $8 million to renovate the Prime Minister's summer lake house, a $6,000 per night hotel suite in London, a $250,000 in airplane catering costs for extravagant meals, and of course, over $200,000 for his trip to a private island, which, by the way, he was found guilty of breaking Canada's ethics laws for taking the trip. Just like Justin, Carbon Tax Carney has a record of using public office and taxpayer money to fund his elite life of luxury.
It's a pleasure to have you here in Wimbledon. What do you love most of all about the place?
I mean, I love everything about the place.
When Carbon Tax Carney was the governor of the Bank of England, he was embroiled in a major expense scandal, billing taxpayers £50,000, over 80,000 Canadian, in just 3 months for global jet setting and chauffeur services. He billed £100,000 to taxpayers for a Christmas party and another $100,000 for his going away party. Can you imagine the menu and bottles at these 2 blowouts? I guess that's what taxpayers have to pay for a rock star central banker. And just like Justin, Carbon Tax Carney's life of luxury will be paid by you.
So grateful to be here. The food, everything. I love it all.
Liberals live it up. You get the bill. Now, Carbon Tax Carney will pretend to be a fresh new face.
You sneaky, you're running as an outsider.
I am an outsider.
But he's been advising Trudeau since COVID. And just like Justin, Carbon Tax Carney is a big spender. In fact, 40% of pandemic spending had nothing to do with COVID at all. And you're still paying for it today. Thanks to him, Canada saw 40-year inflation highs, soaring interest rates, and skyrocketing mortgage payments. This year, more of your tax dollars will go to paying for debt than it goes to healthcare. This means more money for bankers, less for doctors and nurses. Carbon Tax Carney officially joined Trudeau to lead his task force on economic growth.
Prime Minister of Canada asked me to do something, I will do it.
In their first major economic statement together, Trudeau and Carney ushered in $62 billion in new inflationary spending, crashing through their $40 billion deficit guardrail. That's right, Trudeau and Carney missed their spending target by 55%. Just like Justin, Carbon Tax Carney will continue to spend, and you'll continue to pay the price. Canadians desperate for change after 9 years of Justin Trudeau might have been relieved that Trudeau resigned in disgrace, but nothing has changed. Carbon Tax Carney is pretending to be an outsider and pretending to be nothing like Trudeau. The evidence speaks for itself. Carbon Tax Carney is just like Justin.
All right, so that was Michael Barrett, and you heard him talking about about Mark Carney being involved over in England with different scandals as far as putting in expense reports and stuff like that. Yeah, he was like a big bank executive, and here he is in England in front of a committee, and they were talking about his salary. This guy's a multimillionaire, and he's been doing this for like decades. But here you go. Listen to this.
Your current pay in sterling terms is around, total remuneration is around £1/3 pounds, isn't that right?
Yep. Yes.
And your total remuneration is going to be in excess of £800,000.
£800,000. That's about $1.6 million our money. Just a heads up.
In your new job, correct?
Yes.
That's a rather large rise, bearing in mind that there's a pay freeze on at the bank. I think that's the only point that seems relevant here.
Yeah, well, I'll just reiterate that my pay and pension, my pension's zero, but my pay and pension is equivalent.
Oh, the poor guy. Pension zero. He's getting $1.6 million a year. Man, times are tough.
Equivalent to the pay and pension of the current governor. Court has offered that. Secondly, the housing allowance relates to the fact of that I'm moving, as I said, from one of the cheapest capitals to one of the most expensive capitals. It's a common, relatively common arrangement for senior executives. It was offered to me. I accepted. I would add further, if I may, that the combination of the two is broadly equivalent to the pay and pension of the outgoing CEO of the FSA.
So there you go. Just raking in the cash. And that was probably about, I think that was 2011, 2012, somewhere in that ballpark. So I'm going to finish off this podcast with, I'm going to finish off with the part of Pierre Poilievre's, speaking with the reporters just the other day. I think it was the 16th he dropped this. And it's about 6 minutes long, but we'll finish off the podcast with this in its entirety. I'll try not to interrupt him because it speaks for itself. So here we go.
And I want to thank the incredible workers who build these beautiful homes. They are the backbone of our country, and it would be nice if the people who built our homes could afford to live in those homes again, like they could before the 9 years of the Carney, Freeland, Trudeau Liberal government. I want to thank the great Jesse Sahota, who is a police officer that has been keeping our community safe, a wrestling coach who is a great mentor to the youth, and a master in jiu-jitsu and other martial arts. But I assure you, he is a gentle giant. So thank you very much, Jesse, for being the future member of Parliament for Delta. You ever wonder why we can't have nice things in Canada anymore? Like healthcare, or affordable food, or homes, the stuff we used to take for granted as Canadians? You ever wonder why that is? After 9 years of Trudeau, Freeland, and Carney being in power, you know, in 2020, Carney started advising Trudeau on economics, right when Freeland became the finance minister. And what has been the result of this pact? Well, Canada's per capita GDP, income per person, has dropped more than any other country in that time period. Since 2020, Our GDP per capita has dropped more than any other G7 country. That means lower wages and less purchasing power. We've seen $500 billion of Canadian investment pour into the United States to build pipelines, mines, factories, homes, and other infrastructure, creating American jobs with Canadian investment dollars. What has this meant in human terms? 2 million people lined up at food banks. A quarter of our population is now living in poverty. Stats Canada says that we now have the biggest gap between rich and poor since Stats Canada began recording that stat point in 1999. Our money is pouring out of Canada after Liberals, Carney, Trudeau, and Freeland blocked major resource projects, raised taxes on work, energy, and saving, and after they ran up huge deficits with massive overspending. That is the record of Carney and Freeland. Now they have a carbon tax that's 17 cents a liter. Carbon tax Carney has said the tax is not high enough and that it is rising too slowly for him. He wants it to rise even more. Chrystia Freeland has passed into law an increase to 61 cents a liter over the next 5 years. These lying Liberals will deny that right before the election to try and trick Canadians into letting them back in to raise taxes all over again. And then there's the jobs tax. In the budget of last year, Chrystia Freeland announced a capital gains tax hike. Now 66% of investment gains will be taxed under the Carney, Trudeau, Freeland Liberals. This is a tax on home builders when we have a housing shortage, a tax on doctors when we have a doctor shortage. It is a tax on small business when we have an economic crisis. It's a tax on farmers when we have a food price crisis. And it will send billions of dollars away. According to C.D. Howe, this tax will cost 400,000 jobs. How many of those jobs are represented here? Which one of these workers is going to lose their jobs because of this tax increase? How are they going to pay their bills when this Liberal tax increase is fully implemented? Well, the good news is common sense Conservatives are announcing today that under a Pierre Poilievre-led government, I will axe the Liberal jobs tax and reverse the capital gains hike that Chrystia Freeland announced last spring. We will bring down taxes. In fact, I will bring in, it's going to be called the Bring It Home tax cut. It will reduce taxes on work, investment, making stuff, building homes, and energy so that we can bring home more powerful paychecks and production to Canada. And now more than ever, we need it. President Trump has said he wants to tariff our country. We cannot afford economically destructive Liberal taxes that will drive even more business and jobs out of our country. We need to stand strong. My message to President Trump is this: Canada will never be the 51st state, and not only that, the free ride is over. The era of Liberal tax increases and anti-development policies that have driven $500 billion of our money south of the border is over. I will be cutting taxes, removing red tape, and unleashing free enterprise to bring home hundreds of billions of dollars of production and paychecks to this country. We will be a fierce free enterprise economy that delivers powerful paychecks to our people, that will allow anyone from anywhere to achieve anything, that guarantees that hard work gets you a powerful paycheck that buys affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods. That is how we bring it home for Canada. That is how we put Canada first. Canada first, Canada last, Canada always. Let's bring it home.
Let's bring it home. So there you go. You have two different players, I think, in this game, obviously, is Pierre Poilievre and, of course, Mark Carney. The reason why I put this podcast together was to give you a bit of an insight of what Mark Carney was all about. Watching the one interview when Pierre Poilievre was asking him questions, he got rid of a pipeline, got rid of tens of thousands, of jobs, Canadian jobs, but built the pipeline in Brazil as well as the EU because his multi-billion-dollar company thought that was okay, but it was okay to screw over Canadians. That doesn't wash with me. We need politicians who are going to be honest with Canadians. We need politicians who are going to do the right thing for Canadians. Excuse me. And what I've always said about our resources, our oil, our natural gas, and now our lithium, those three things alone, all Canadians should be living basically like the Saudi Arabian people live. We shouldn't even be paying taxes. We have so much resources under our earth, in our ground here, on our soil, that Canadians, when you're born in this country, it should be like the greatest gift there is. No tax, because the managers of this country are going to do the right thing and manage our wealth of resources properly and give all Canadians a phenomenal life and an opportunity to do literally whatever they want to do and help out their fellow Canadian brother and sister. That's kind of the way I look at it. Anyway, that's today's podcast, everyone. Thank you very much for subscribing and liking. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to leave your comments below. They're always appreciated, good, bad, or ugly. The way it is, everyone has an opinion, and that's just the way it rolls. Before I end my podcast, I always like to say this one thing, that this life is tough, and everybody goes through something and is going through something right now. But what you have to do is one thing. Keep moving forward. You got to keep moving forward. Don't look back. There's nothing for you there. It's that simple. All right? Wishing you all the best. And until next podcast, everyone, thank you very much for tuning into this one. It's much appreciated. Cheers, everyone.